patient wants what he wants, so I just need to shut up and give it to him, okay? Patient comes into my pharmacy. I'm here for my COVID test appointment. BTW, please stop coming into our store without a mask if you think you may have COVID. We have a drive-thru. I'm sorry, you must be mistaken. We only do the tests on Tuesdays and Thursdays because of our lab delivery system. No, I signed up for the test. Proceeds to show me forms for the antibody test. I explained to him that this isn't a COVID test, it's for antibodies, and it won't tell him if he at that present moment has the virus. He tells me he needs a negative result for his son's soccer camp, so we need to just do it. Manager steps in and reminds him this isn't the same thing. Patient starts getting mad and interrupts manager to say, "Look, you don't know what they do and don't require for my son's camp, so just give me the damn test I paid for." Okay, we do the test. While waiting for the results, patient walks around the store, and my manager calls the soccer camp registration manager, his friend, and confirms with him the antibody test won't work for them. No information about the patient was talked about, only the question of which test works for registration. Camp check-in is in an hour. Patient comes back. We let him see his results, ring him up, give him his receipt. We do this for a signature for record keeping. Receipt was no charge because he paid online. Then manager proceeds to tell him about conversation with soccer manager. Patient is pissed and yelling he wants a refund, and we tricked him. Manager: "No, sir. I tried to explain the difference to you, and you told us to give you what you paid for." So we did. Your lack of understanding is not our fault, and we are not responsible to pay for that. I fucking love my job, but a big shout out to my manager who has zero patience for Karens. Story 2. My boss used me for MC 5 years ago, and I just figured it out. About 5 years ago, I was the office guy for a small lumber mill. My direct supervisor was the general manager, but the owner was also pretty hands-on. The mill wasn't generating as much profit as the owner believed it could. He was probably right. The guy was smart as a whip with 60-plus years of experience. One of the things the owner tried to do was hire an outside consultant to try and find ways we could safely increase productivity or cut expenses. The guy had owned and operated his own mill, and also had a ludicrous amount of experience. One of the things the consultant had been pushing for was running the mill into overtime. He thought we could increase productivity without incurring more expense than we gained. My boss asked me to run an analysis of how much we would gain or lose if we ran overtime. I did the math and gave him the results. Even in the best case, every minute of overtime would result in a net loss to the company. This report had taken me several hours as I wanted to be sure I gave him the right answer. My boss took it, nodded, and the next day announced we would be running the mill in overtime. 2 weeks later, when I prepared the end-of-month financial statements, it showed a large loss. I was quietly seething, since I felt like I had been asked a pointless question, my time wasted, and my input ignored. But looking back on it with significantly more experience, I think I know what happened. I think my boss was bothered by the consultant who had come in to tell him how to do his job and then given him bad advice. The owner wouldn't listen to my boss telling him he didn't need a consultant, so he did exactly what the consultant suggested and let the owner judge for himself. As far as my report went, I think he just wanted to be sure it wouldn't cost us too much when he pulled the trigger. Tom, if you're reading this, I'm sorry I was resentful about the whole affair for the past 5 years. My bad. Story 3. My house in the middle of the street. When I pay my mortgage, I round up and divide in half. I pay half every other week, so my mortgage got picked up by another company when my mortgage company went out of business. To do what I was doing with the new company was $300 to enroll, and an extra $40 each payment. Oh, hell no. I spoke to my credit union and they had an auto pay that would pay my bills from my direct deposit free. So nearly a year goes by and I get one of those scary-ass letters. You are in default on your mortgage. Unless we get X payment within 10 days of this letter, we will foreclose. I was astounded since I had never missed a payment and was actually paid a couple of months ahead. I spoke with their accounting department. It seems they couldn't accept half payments, only full payments, even though they had done so for a year. So the money had to sit, unapplied, until a full payment was accrued. That made sense, except again, they got more than enough, and it was always in there in full before the due date. So on the due date, they should have just taken it and applied it to the mortgage. So further digging, the rep says to me, "Oh, by the way, we have $8,200 of unapplied funds in this account. What do you want to do with it? Pay my mortgage with it? Oh, we can't do that." So I had to get a check cut for $8,200 Pay $1.45 for them to overnight it to me. Take it to my credit union. Cash it. Pay $1.25 for a cashier's check, and pay another $1.45 to send the cashier's check back to them. I called relentlessly to see when it had arrived and had all kinds of postal tracking, signature confirmation, etc. Remember, I only had 10 days to get this shit straight. So they get it and verify that it is applied to my mortgage and that there will be no foreclosure. The rep tells me, well, your next payment is due in 2 weeks and there will be penalties and late fees applied, so the amount is XYZ, and we are raising your interest rate to nearly twice what it was before. No. All this is your company's fault. She says, you knew these were the terms and conditions when you took out your mortgage with us. No. I didn't take it out with you. I took it out with another company and I was assigned to your company. Well, don't be late with the next payment. No. I want to speak with a manager. So I finally get to speak to a manager and he wasn't much better. His only response, well, you can always go with another company, but good luck with that these days. So many foreclosures and your credit is not very good for missing so many payments. So I decided to take his advice. I contacted my credit union, explained everything, showed them their own payment transfers, and the mortgage statements showing the other company had received the money bi-weekly like clockwork, and the credit union took over my mortgage. I got a reduced interest rate and killed all the fees, penalties, and got the overpayment back. I applied it to the new mortgage payments, etc. So when a company acts like they have you over a barrel and tells you to try to go with someone else, do it! Story 4. Sure, I'll take down my negative Yelp review. This happened to me a few years ago. I was owed a significant sum of money by the company which handles my doctor's billing. She worked at a large healthcare system which outsourced billing to this company. For months and months, I tried via email and phone to get the money back. But each contact I was treated rudely or ignored. They would either say they are still working on it, or would act like I had never requested the money in the first place and needed to start the process over. It was maddening. One day after receiving another rude email from this company, I decided to leave a Yelp review on my doctor's page. I essentially said that, while the doctor and her staff were helpful and professional, the billing company they used was atrocious and made the entire experience not worth it. Lo and behold, the very next day I get a call from the CEO of the billing company. He asks what the problem is, and I explain. He says, okay, I'll make sure the money gets sent ASAP. Could you please take the review down? Apparently, he was getting angry calls from my doctor, and he seemed pretty pressured to get it taken down. I respond that I can take the review down after I get my money back. He gladly accepts my offer. A week later, there is my check in the mail. Here's the thing, though. I never specified how long until I would take the review down after I get the money. So I wait a week, get some calls, texts from the CEO, ignore them, wait another week. Respond that I'm having technical problems logging into Yelp, but should have it resolved soon. After about 6 months of him reaching out and me being as unhelpful as possible, I finally took it down. The next time I returned to that doctor's office, it was a whole new billing system. Not sure if my review made a difference, but it was sweet malicious compliance regardless.